Surprise! I brought her back!
Hi!
Lindsey and I mean, you guys have, I'm just blown away by the love that you showed our Mario review when I was out of town about a month ago when I had her here with me. Everybody has been asking to bring her back, and I was like, you know what? We're seeing Guardians this weekend. Spoiler City time! Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, huh? What'd you think?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I still was not emotionally prepared for it like I thought I would be. I have no words. It's just really, really good.
No words. How many times did you cry overall?
Like 3.
3?
Or more.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was, I will tell you this one. There was not a dry eye in the room when we saw this movie last Friday at the time of recording. Today's Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I cannot wait to watch it again. I'm sure you're going to be watching it a million more times.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. So what do you think? Was it better than the first one? Do you think it was the best entry?
I honestly... It's tied for me with all the Guardians movies.
Oh, okay.
I love the Guardians movies. They're all tied to me because, I don't know, I can't really put them above each other or below each other because to me it's just like, I don't know, it's just really good and I love it all like equally, which is what I was thinking in the theater too. I was like, how much do I love this? I love it equally and I don't exactly know why I do. But it was really, really good.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think that's a testament to how James Gunn is as a writer and as a director. I know some people on Twitter were telling me this should be credit to more so the director than the MCU overall. I think it's a little bit of a combination of both. I think the MCU is starting to get their groove back. Yeah, they've been inconsistent since Endgame. I mean, you've had smash hits like No Way Home and Shang-Chi and everything like that. Those are great films and everything like that. But people, I've said this in my spoiler-free review. Everybody wishes that they could do it like James Gunn, I feel like. And I am so hopeful for the future of not just the Marvel movies, even though James Gunn has ridden off into the sunset, but now that he's taking over the creative of DC, I think those are going to get a lot better. And I can't wait to see the new Superman movie. I can't wait to see what he does with that, okay? Like, don't think that I'm a Marvel stan and I just hate DC. I'm not tribal like that. I think it's a really good time to be a superhero movie fan, for sure.
It's going to be fun.
So now we get to the moment of truth. This is Spoiler City after all. From now on, we're going to be talking all Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 spoilers. Lindsey, this is issuing their warning. Here we go. Let's let it sit for a bit. 3, 2, 1. Nobody f***ing dies!
I'm not expecting it to start with that. That was frustrating. It shouldn't be frustrating.
It was frustrating.
It was frustrating.
We're just sitting here and like I said, this movie toys with your emotions. And we were all sitting there expecting like a Drax because Dave Bautista said this is his last one. All right.
So did, I don't know names. Gamora.
Yeah, Zoe Saldana. She said it was her last one. It's probably like, Rocket. A lot of people were predicting Rocket was going to die. And I was sitting there dreading it the whole time. And he didn't freaking do it.
I expected... Everyone thought that only one character would die. I expected either Drax and Rocket to die. Yeah. I thought it was going to be both of them. And to an extent, I was right.
And trust me, there's a lot of teases in this. Rocket, Raccoon, and a lot of these flashbacks are given to us as Rocket is in this comatose state. Because this first big action sequence that you get... Rocket is pretty much obliterated and he's close to death and it's super freaking emotional.
Crying again.
Yeah. And Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, again, not getting enough credit. He gives such an emotionally gut-wrenching performance.
Especially the ending of that.
Mm-hmm.
That was really, that's what pushed me over the edge when Rocket was, almost dead, but not quite. They were trying to revive him. That is when I lost it completely. Not because he was dying, but also because of just Chris Pratt's way. Just the emotion he put into it made me cry.
Yeah. No, I agree. And this is someone who's lost his father figure by this point in Yondu through Volume 2. Someone who's lost Gamora through Infinity War and Endgame. Like that Gamora that we're used to. Not this variant that we're seeing who's like a Ravager. But he's been through the ringer. And we see Star-Lord. We're introduced to him. And he's almost like Thor in Endgame when we come across him, which is a weird parallel that I'm making here. But he's an alcoholic. Like, he's turning to these really crummy vices to help him get over his demons and everything. It's really deep for a Guardians movie.
It It was.
Like, my
The
goodness.
backstory, too, was very... It was a lot.
Rocket's backstory. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So Rocket, we get his backstory in this film, which was really good to see because I feel like we got more background on everyone else but Rocket. Because he continuously is not telling everyone his backstory. He only says, you know, that he's a talking, not raccoon. Because he hates being called anything.
And they call him everything but a raccoon throughout a bunch of these movies. Thor has called him a rabbit, as you guys I'm sure are used to. This time you get him being called a hedgehog. Gamora likes calling him a badger. Mm-hmm. Everything but a raccoon.
Trash panda.
Trash panda, exactly.
That was my favorite funny moment in the movie. Was he was like, is that better or worse? And then it's silent for a second. And then Star-Lord just goes, oh, it's much worse. It's much worse.
Yeah.
When he got called a trash panda.
Yeah, so Rocket's backstory actually gave us our villain for this movie, the High Evolutionary, who basically was the one who brought Rocket up from nothing and kind of was bringing in all these animals and mutating them to fill his needs on Counter-Earth, as he calls it. Like, I said it in my spoiler-free review, and I just left it at this. I wanted to punch this guy in the fucking mouth. I really did. Like, you know, it's
frustrating.
Yeah, my buddy who I saw the movie with, you guys remember Tomas from the ZNT wrestling show, he was sitting next to me, and he whispers in my ear, this guy is worse than Thanos.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, like, pure hatred and, like, wanting to see comeuppance for somebody, yeah, I agree with him. He may be worse than Thanos, you know?
There was no... Like, every now and then you can find one piece of a villain that maybe you might resonate with that would be like, that's too far, but I get this one, like, their reasoning. There was no reasoning to this character. He was just evil.
He was just evil. Nothing. And, like, you know, trying to build a Counter-Earth and, like, filling the citizens, like, are filling his needs. Oh, man.
They were basically furries. That's a warning. They were furries. Y'all. That's a warning for y'all. They were basically furries with, like, prosthetics instead of masks.
Now, it is a very, like, as terrifying as it might have been to Lindsey,
it was terrifying.
I found it very heartwarming. I'm not gonna lie. Rocket's 3 friends that he came up with.
No, those were better.
Yeah.
I like those.
I like the otter. Leela, who we were... no.
Lila?
Yeah, Lila. Yeah, I mispronounced her name. Yeah, there we go. But Lila... Lila
was very sweet.
She was very sweet, yeah.
I did really like that character, and I'm glad they didn't make it this, like, love story thing that they could have included.
Yeah.
It just became, like, where you could see it maybe getting romanticized if his story continued from there. Mm-hmm. If it was a different movie, maybe. But it was very sweet to also just see those, like, best friends all together, because they're kind of just, like, surviving, not really sure what's happening, talking about when they get out, kind of thing. I don't want to talk about the spider rabbit. Oh,
the spider rabbit. I don't remember that one's name for the life of me.
Floor,
yeah, because he likes lying on the floor. That's right, yeah. was Floor the spider rabbit, or was it the walrus with the wheels?
The spider rabbit, because the spider rabbit was laying on the floor and said, I want to be called Floor. I'm laying on this floor. So they were all talking about what names they want when they get out. Because right now, in that moment, they were just called whatever number sequence they were in their, like, batch 89 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Which is which adds to the heartwarmingness of it, because it's just sad to see that this, like, villain has absolutely no care for any of them.
Yeah, because
they're just a number.
The High Evolutionary does not give these characters any name, doesn't give Rocket a name. Rocket pretty much dubs himself Rocket just because of his aspirations, which I thought was really freaking clever. Again, just showing people why Rocket might just be my new favorite MCU character. I can't believe I'm saying that. Especially after, you know, me gushing about Thor and everything, but Love and Thunder being so polarizing, I'm sitting here and I think Rocket might have overtaken him. I think Rocket might be my new favorite.
Rocket it's very easy to see him as just, like, in all honesty, like the funny, not necessarily rude character, but just the one to pick on you. He'll pick on you. That's kind of how you see him.
The sarcastic one.
Yes, thank you. He's like the sarcastic character that you kind of see, but now you kind of see that other side of him before he kind of had to build up this, like, wall of who he was and protecting himself, and it's really nice to see that because it gives more depth to his character.
I mean, he's not just sitting there like, that is the most real, authentic laugh I've ever made in my life. Like, he's not just doing that. You know, he has a lot of heart to him.
Yeah.
And I love that about this movie.
He has a heart. He has robot parts. That was hard to see. That was hard to watch.
I mean, yeah.
Because they didn't necessarily show every scene of how he became what he is, but they definitely had like some backstory where you kind of imagine it and they're talking about it, of how it was just it was heartbreaking to hear when my brain is gonna go crazy and hope I said it correct, but Nebula's character, when she was talking about what Thanos did to her, it was worse than that for Rocket.
Yeah.
That was hard to hear because she went through a lot.
That's a very telling line right there from Nebula, yeah.
It was a lot.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Nebula and you were talking earlier about, like, couples that were forming and, like, how you're glad that, you know, Rocket and Lila didn't get together. I got her name right this time. But one thing that I couldn't help but notice watching the dynamic was the Star-Lord and Nebula. And I was sitting there like, are they going to put Star-Lord and Nebula together after everything that he went through with Gamora, and Gamora just not giving a rat's ass about Star-Lord anymore? Like, it was very tempting for them to do that, because a lot of these arguments that Star-Lord and Nebula have, I look over at Tomas and I was like, these are couples arguments.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if James Gunn puts them together. I'm very glad that he did not do that. Okay?
It was very close. Like, they set it up where you think they're going to get together, and then they don't. And they do it again, and then they don't.
And some of those arguments were so funny because, like, Nebula was, like, trying to get into this car, right? And Star-Lord is trying to, like, drive, you know, he's trying to drive him and Nebula and Groot over to the High Evolutionary ship to go and rescue Rocket, right? And Nebula is trying to open this door, and she is really fussing with this button, and we get the first F-bomb in the MCU.
I think it was placed perfectly. But she's like, everyone else is in the car, and she's like, it's not opening. It's not opening.
And Star-Lord finally goes, open the fucking door. And the theater freaking lost it.
Because he's like, push the button. She's like, what button? She pushes the keyhole, and he just sarcastically, as ever, just goes, it looks like you're pushing the keyhole. And she's like, okay, well then when she pushes the button, and then she's just like, okay, now what? Because he tells her to push the button. She's just holding this button, and he's like, open the door! It's an F-bomb, though, because that's where it went.
Yep. I loved that. Loved that so much. And, like, it's so crazy that this movie was as dark as it was.
Yeah.
But all the comedy that we love the Guardians for is still there.
It helps.
Still there. Like that moment that we were just talking about. Drax was hilarious in this. She's losing it. You know, like, do you want to talk about the couch?
No, but yes, the couch. Oh my gosh. So there's a scene where they're all just sitting. They get to the, what was it called? Counter Earth.
Counter Earth, yeah.
This happened previously before the car scene that we just talked about. They're all sitting, trying to talk with the people there and communicate with them and being like, we need to get there. How to get there? Do you know these people? And whatever. And they're like, sit down. So everyone takes a chair at the table. I think, like, Groot is standing or somebody's just standing. Everyone else is sitting.
Yeah.
And Drax just fully goes, like, in the chair. But on the couch. On the couch. And everyone just looks at him. He's like, what? It's what it's here for.
Be respectful. Sit up, please.
And so he sits up. But it happens, like, 3 more times. Everyone's like, sit up! And he's like, but that's what the couch is for. My favorite was he just started following. So he's like, and then people are like, I see you! Sit back up! And he's like, oh. So that was hilarious. He's like, it's what it's for. Why can I not lay down? And we're like, be respectful, dude.
Dave Bautista, man. I am gonna miss him in this Marvel universe so much. Yeah. And I don't care what you say about how they made him just the complete imbecile of the group. Like, he sells it. He really does. And it's like, I know he can be big and hulking. He doesn't understand sarcasm because he's stupid. You know?
They explained that, though. They added another part to him by the end of the movie, which was really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of, you know, he's still kind of the, like, stupider character.
He is. Mantis is like, Mantis outright says in a very emotional scene, she's like, I know Drax is stupid. And yeah, we know he's stupid, but we love him anyway.
And he just goes, you think I'm stupid? She's like, yes. forget. And then he forgets. And then he goes, guys, I did it. We got in. Mm-hmm. That was my favorite thing because it went from an emotional scene to the Guardians comedy that they incorporated in it.
Yeah.
So it's really good to combat so that we're not just bawling our eyes out like every other Marvel movie, to be honest. Recently, I've been bawling my eyes out. The good ones, at least. The good ones.
Oh, yeah. Great buildup of the Drax-Mantis relationship from the holiday special, which we also watched together, you know, like when we first started dating. We watched that together. Special. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. I liked how they had the focus on Drax and Mantis, and I liked the evolution. And James Gunn, like, if you miss the holiday special, you're not really going to miss a ton from this movie. The big thing is that Mantis is now Star-Lord's sister because they were both brought up by Ego.
Which they did mention in the film. In the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, they said I don't remember exactly, but they were talking about how, like, well, he's your brother, whatever the rest of the sentence is.
Yeah.
So that if you miss the special, you're caught up. But it's not being, like, explained a lot. So it's just, like, a one and done sentence where it's just like, there you go, here's the information. And it doesn't, like, hurt the movie or confuse a bunch of people.
And I'm not saying some, but most Marvel writers these days would be very tempted to put this gigantic exposition blurb in the movie where they basically summarize the whole holiday special in one paragraph. James Gunn didn't do that. He left it to like maybe 5 or 6 words.
I like that.
That's a testament to him as a writer and as a director. So, and I just can't get over how freaking good this movie was. I get how some people might have some editing problems with it. I loved, like, you know, just how he helms the action. That whole one shot in the hallway to the Beastie Boys is just like, oh, God, it just makes me love Marvel movies so much. That's a big reason why I love this movie, so.
I liked like, even though I hated the villain, obviously he's evil to this. No. The way his power works was very interesting to see how they animated that, because it's not this huge, like, it's like basically like a burst of energy, I guess is how to describe it. Kind of just like a, boom, you're over there on the wall, but it's purple. I love purple. But it's also, but it's also not, it's not this big, huge, like, blowout. It's just a simple, you're on the floor now. But it's also, you can see it happening instead of just being like, where did he get the power from? Like, where's it coming from?
It's like a telekinetic type of energy,
exactly. And it's really cool to see how they animated that with the special effects and stuff, because it's very, very simple, so it doesn't take away from who he is as, like, a person.
I'd like to see him go up against Professor X once he's introduced into this universe, but high evolutionary, great freaking villain. I would put him in the top 3 for this whole universe, right up there with Thanos and Killmonger, in my opinion.
Yep.
Better than Gore the God Butcher, even though I love Christian Bale to pieces. But, yeah, definitely a lot better. James Gunn certainly understands how to use that actor, and I can't wait to see what else he does. Speaking of villains, we also have failed to mention Adam Warlock up to this point.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, the big gold dude. I can't believe how funny he was. I can't believe it.
I feel like he should have had a little bit more to do with the movie then, because showing that I forgot about him, probably not a great thing.
He did. Yeah, I mean, did he need to be in this movie? No, probably not, but I think he did add a good, nice balance to a lot of things that were going on. I like how he brings, like, his cosmic powers into this Guardians world. So
stupid, too.
He is. So, like, if this new Guardians team that they teased at the end has a stupid Drax replacement, then Adam Warlock is a good one, for sure.
Yeah, he's very much, and he's not stupid in the fact where he's like, oh, I just don't know anything, I'm not learning. He's new to the world. What is this? Kind of stupid.
So, yeah. So, since we're running out of time here, let's talk about the ending real quick.
Yes.
So, after they tease another Star-Lord death when he's floating in space there, he's
tried so hard, guys.
I thought they were actually going to do it, too. Again, James Gunn is toying with your emotions. He is saved by Adam Warlock. He brings him back to Camp Nowhere, basically. And the Guardians basically decide they need to split off. And there was a whole discussion between Star-Lord and Drax. And Drax was being very sarcastic about it. You need to learn how to swim. You're just floating from person to person in one spot. And Star-Lord decides that he wants to go back home to Earth. He goes and he sees his grandfather. It's a very heartfelt reunion. And he's in one of the post-credits sequences where he's just sitting there chomping cereal with his grandfather. And it just says, as the chomping cereal sound is in the background, which is hilarious, it says, the legendary Star-Lord will return.
They don't tell us when, they don't tell us what, they just say he will.
Yeah, so I don't think Chris Pratt is done. You know, like, people like Drax, like Dave Bautista, who is basically, like, raising all these kids that the High Evolutionary kidnapped. Like, he was born to be a dad.
They said that, too. It was really, really nice.
It's such a great, like... That's what's so amazing about Volume 3, I think, is it gives all these characters a great send-off that makes so much sense. This team, a great send-off. It might not be the last we see of these characters, but in terms of them as a team, like the Guardians that we all grew up with, like, fantastic send-off.
Beautiful ending. It's a very good ending to them, and it's not a harsh, like, oh my gosh, we're done being a team. It was like everybody, it wasn't just one person, it was like every person from the team wanted something else to do individually. Like, Mantis wanted to go do her own stuff, because she's only ever done stuff for the team and for just other people. She wanted to be her own not human self.
Yeah, her own alien, like, you know, psychic self, you know. But, so one thing that I feel like we cannot gloss over above all else, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is Rocket Raccoon's story.
Yes.
Like, you know, if this is about the whole team, if there's one character, like, you know, Filmmaking 101 says you gotta have, like, one main protagonist, and it's gotta be their story. If there's anyone in this movie where it's their story, it's Rocket's. Because at the end, when Star-Lord basically gives up his post as the leader of the team, he passes it on to Rocket.
They all did the little, like... So sweet.
And it's so poignant just because Rocket and Star-Lord have been at each other's throats to try and see who is going to be the de facto leader this whole time. So now that they're basically like brothers, and he's passing it on to him, and this new Guardians team, it's a pretty fun lineup. You have Rocket as your leader. Groot is still there with Rocket. You know, Groot is like Rocket's big brute and his big heavy, his right hand man. And Groot is so funny in this movie too. Groot has such an emotional line where, you know, he just has his "I am Groot" like the whole time, and he's like, "I love you guys." And I'm like, are you kidding me?
He spoke English! It was so sweet.
Now he knows talking good like you and me. So yeah, you have Rocket, you have Groot, you have Cosmo the space dog, who is a really fun presence in here. You have Yondu's apprentice, and he was really good in this movie as well. Yeah. And then you have Adam Warlock joining the team as well. So it's like, the door's certainly open. I don't know if it'll be the same without James Gunn at the helm, because he's going to be a busy bee with the DC movies, but we'll see what happens. There's a lot up in the air. Gamora's still with the Ravagers. Nebula's looking over nowhere. Bautista is raising all those kids, you know, even though Bautista said he's done with Marvel. Like, there's a lot of, like, never say never, essentially. You know, that's the message. Never say never. But final thoughts? Good movie?
Really good movie.
Recommend. Absolutely. Go watch it when you can. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that like button as well. That would be a humongous help. Lindsey, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. It was really fun.
Totally. This is not the last time you're going to be seeing her, folks. Absolutely not. We're going to have more spoiler reviews. We're going to have more movie reviews out here. It's going to be a fun summer, guys, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was a great start to a great blockbuster season, it's looking like.
Absolutely.
So y'all are the best. Thank you so much for tuning in. Commence that back talk.